Okay, so for these, you are determining if the table is a linear function or not. The best way to do this is just to go ahead and graph each of these points. Okay, so first one, x is -3 and y is -4. If you need to, you can label your x and your y. You can number them. Okay, I'll do it for this first one. 3, -4, -5, and then the y is going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then going down -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Okay, if you need to, just pause the video and number them. Okay, but you do that for all of them. On here, I probably won't number them going forward, but that's the idea. All right, so x is -3, y is -4. So x is -3 and y is -4. That's down here. We're going to pull up that point. Okay, and then next one, x is -1, y is -1. So that's right there. Next one, x is 1, y is 2. X is 1 and y is 2. Next one, x is 3 and y is 5. X is 3 and y is 5 up there. And if you notice, if I connect these points, it makes a straight line. Okay? So we already knew, so determine the table is a linear function, right? So two keywords, linear and function. We already know it's a function, none of the x's repeat. Okay? Is it linear or not? We graphed it and it made a line. So this one is linear. Okay? All right, let's do number 2. X is -1, so here's your x and here's your y. Okay, so number it if you need to, like that, like in number 1 we did. All right, x is -1, y is -4. So x -1, y is -4. That's down here. X is 0, y is -2. So it's going to be on the y-axis at -2 since y is -2. Next one, x is 1, y is 0. Okay, so that's going to be on the x-axis at 1. Okay, and then the next one, x is 2 and y is 4. X is 2, y is 1, 2, 3, 4 up here. Okay, and now if we connect the dots here, okay, this is not going to be a straight line, right? Right, if I connected it, I'd have to go like that. Okay, so not a straight line. It is a function, right? But it's not a linear function. Okay, this point, it had a different slope than the others. Okay. Okay, number 3. Let's do a couple more. Then I'm going to point out one other thing to you. All right, so these horizontal tables, same idea. All right, so here's your x and here's your y. All right, so first one, x is -2, y is -3. X is -2, y is -3 down here. Then we have one at 0, 0. Then we have one at x is 2, y is 1. And then we have one at x is 4 and y is 2. So if we connect these points, they don't make a straight line. It is a function. Okay, none of the x's repeat, but it's not linear. So this is not linear. Okay, and let's do one last one. All right, so here's your x, here's your y. X is -4, y is -3. X is -4, y is -3. X is 0, y is 1. X is 1, y is 2. And then the last one, x is 2 and y is 3. Okay, this one, if we draw a line through all the points, hey, this one does make a straight line. Okay, this one's linear. Okay, the other thing I want to point out on this is if you go back, let's go ahead and look at the slopes on these. Okay, so notice this one's linear. Let's look at the change in y over change in x. Okay, because sometimes they won't give you a graph. Okay. All right, so if I look at the change in y here, the change in y is 4 from -3 to 1. Change in x is 4. Okay, that's 4 over 4. That's 1. Okay, here the change in y is 1. The change in x is 1. Okay, that's 1 over 1. That's also 1. Okay, change in y is 1, change in x is 1. Hey, all of these turn out to be 1, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. 1 divided by 1 is 1. The slope for all of these is a positive 1. Okay? All right, let's take a look at number 3 here. Going back. If I look at the slope here, the change in y is 3. The change in x is 2. Okay? The change in y is 1. The change in x is 2. The change in y is 1. The change in x is 2. So here we have slopes. Let's look at our slopes for each of these points here. This one's 1 over 2. It's 1/2. This one, from this point to this point, is also 1 over 2, but this point is 3 over 2, right? 3 over 2 and 1 over 2 aren't the same. Throughout this graph, the slope is not the same. Okay? Let's look at number 2. We should find the same thing as in number 3. The slope isn't the same for at least one of the points. Okay? The change in y here is 4. The change in x here is 1. The change in y from negative 2 to 0 is 2. The change in x is 1. The change in y here, negative 4 to negative 2 is 2. The change in x is 1. So you got 2 over 1, 2 over 1, so slopes of 2, and then all of a sudden you have a slope of 4 over 1. Okay? So that's why that one's not linear. All right, and then the last one, hey, this one turned out to be a line. All these slopes should be the same. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that. The change in y here is 3. The change in x here is 2. The change in y from negative 1 to 2, from negative 1 to 2, right? The change in y is 3. And then from negative 1 to positive 1, right? Change in x is 2. From negative 1 to negative 4, change in y there is 3. From negative 3 to negative 1, 2, right? 3 over 2, 3 over 2, 3 over 2. Throughout this entire graph, the slope, the rate is 3 over 2, right? So that's why that one is a line. Okay.